Now presenting Granada Tonight, John Huntley and Lucy Meacock. Hello and welcome. Tonight, the Princess of Wales was in the Northwest today for her first official engagement since the weekend's revelations about her personal life. She was so overcome with the warmth of the welcome she received from the public in Southport that she left in tears.
We also have the latest news on Laura Davis after her double transplant operation in Pittsburgh. Laura from Eccles in Greater Manchester is now in intensive care during the critical hours following the operation.
In Manchester, the British Olympians gather to give their backing to the city's Olympic bid.
And we'll be reporting live from the launch of the Liverpool Festival of Comedy. The organiser is Jane Casey.
Hello, 11 days of fun. Ruby Wax, Sean Hughes, Jack D. Pick up a brochure. They're all over the place.
And in a quarter of an hour's time, Margie Clark will be crowned Fairy Queen of the festival.
Jane, do you know when I get to be crowned Queen of the Comedy Festival? Does that mean that I'll be funny?
Oh, darling, you'll be hysterical.
Dead funny?
Dead funny.
Oh.
Join us later.
More from the Comedy Festival later. But first tonight, Princess Diana broke down and wept today, overcome by the warmth of her Merseyside reception. On her first official engagement since the reports of her alleged suicide bids, the Princess opened a hospice in Southport before walking amid cheering crowds outside. As she spoke to the crowd, she broke down in tears. This report from Bob Smithies.
No visitor could have had a warmer reception. Princess Diana came to Southport to open the Queen's Court Hospice. She looked cool in a cornflower blue outfit, and while composed, her face was pale and unusually sombre. Outside the hospice, held behind metal barriers, the pack of over 50 non-accredited reporters and photographers had been warned not to make approaches. Inside, the Princess, still self-possessed, toured the wards and chatted to the patients. But then, before the unveiling of the plaque, came a warm speech of welcome from Hospice Chairman Bill Davidson.
By your example, you have won the devotion and the admiration of caring people worldwide. May God bless you, and may you always remain, ma'am, just you.
It was those words, perhaps, and the kindness and understanding the Princess met as she moved among the crowds outside that brought high emotion later. She chatted and smiled and went far beyond the usual royal walkabout, and the cameras worked overtime.
The unofficial media pack here today has been exceptionally large, and every one of the Princess's gestures has, I'm sure, been recorded intensively on film and on paper. But the recent speculation seems a million miles away from Merseyside today. The crowd, I think, came here today to see their fairy tale princess, one of those who lives happily ever after.
But that adulation and kindness brought the tears. The Princess wiped her eyes and returned again to the adoring crowd. But the pressure of the last few days had evidently been too much. The tears came again. Diana bowed her head, turned red, and was whisked away in her limousine.
Princess of Wales in Southport. Well, now to the latest news from America about Laura Davis from Salford. She's in a critical but stable condition tonight. Her doctors say the next 72 hours are crucial following her complicated transplant operation to replace her liver and her bowel. But Laura, who's 4, has regained consciousness and has been visited by her parents, as Tim Wyatt reports.
The life-saving liver and bowel replacement operation, like the recent one shown here, took a team of surgeons nearly 16 hours. She's only the 10th child to undergo this type of surgery. Within hours of the complex twin transplant operation at Pittsburgh Children's Hospital, Laura was conscious again. By lunchtime today, she was taken off the respirator, which had been helping her to breathe. This evening, doctors are pleased with her progress so far. Laura's condition has improved. She's critically ill as expected, but stable.
They're watching her very closely to make sure that the new organs are working appropriately. They are also watching her to make sure that she's not showing any signs of infection and to make sure that she continues to breathe well on her own.
Laura's parents, Les and Fran, saw her after surgery. They know that the next 2 or 3 days are the most critical, with doctors using special drugs to fight rejection of the new organs. In Manchester, relatives of the brave 4-year-old are praying she'll make a full recovery. Laura's aunt, Deborah Cooper, is looking after Laura's 20-month-old brother, Lewis. She says the waiting has been the worst.
I kept myself going by saying I won't worry until after 2 weeks. So when they told me, I just thought, well, here we go. This is what we wanted, and we've got it,
And how is the family at this end coping?
We're all very emotional. I mean, we couldn't have got there without the public and their money. And everything that people have done for us, people we know and people we don't know.
Throughout the day, well-wishers have been phoning the Laura Davis Appeal Office at Pendlebury Children's Hospital in North Manchester to find out the latest news.
Well, she's all right at the moment. She's holding her own at the moment. We're just waiting for the outcome.
This evening, it's reported from Pittsburgh that Laura has been talking to staff there. Her recovery seems to have begun, but she'll have to remain in Pennsylvania for months before she's well enough to return home.
Well, on the line now, Margie Brzezinski from the Children's Hospital of Pittsburgh. Margie, what is the latest news on Laura?
We are currently conducting a press briefing where Laura's parents, as well as her main surgeons, are speaking with the press here at Children's Hospital of Pittsburgh. And her surgeons have given everyone an update, just basically saying that her surgery did go very smoothly and they were very pleased with her progress to date. Her parents, too, have expressed their surprise that Laura is recovering at a rate much more quickly than they had imagined. Her mother in particular said that Laura is giving her nurses a hard time on the unit. She's asking for water and wanting to sit up in bed already.
So what sorts of things has she been saying?
She's basically just been asking for water. She's wanted to sit up in bed, which is a little bit difficult because she has several IV lines that are attached to her at this point. Her mom really didn't get into more specifics than that, but she was surprised that Laura was awake and as alert as she is.
Is she in much pain at the moment?
No, her mother said that she seems to not be feeling any pain at all, which is a very good sign as well.
I wonder how her condition at the moment compares with that of other children who've been through similar surgery.
Well, certainly each child in each case is very different, but Laura's recovery rate seems to be a little bit above average. Usually children stay on the respirator a little bit longer. Laura seems to have a very strong will. She wants to get through this and get over with it so she can get on with her playing. And that seems to be her spirit. It seems to be pulling her through very quickly.
Yes, we've all been astonished by that. It seems incredible that she's doing so well so soon after surgery. But what about her parents? How do you feel that they're coping?
They're looking rather tired. I think they've had quite an ordeal to get through with very little sleep and a lot of concern. But overall, they're very relieved. They look like they've passed the first hurdle and they have several more to come. But they look like they're strong enough to get through it.
And how much time are they able to spend with Laura?
They're, with the exception of maybe a few times during the day, they're able to be at Laura's side constantly. The only time nurses would ask them to leave is when they would need to change dressings or change lines or whatever, and that's only a couple times a day. So for the most part, they can be at her side whenever they want to.
Well, that's good news. That must be a great comfort to her.
Yes.
Well, Margie Brzezinski in Pittsburgh, thanks very much for joining us.
You're welcome.
John.
More news now. 3 people are being questioned by police on Merseyside tonight after a man was found beaten to death. David Edwards' body was discovered at his house on Avon Street in Birkenhead yesterday morning. And detectives in Greater Manchester want to trace a woman who's believed to be the last person to be seen with a man who was found stabbed to death. Alan Wilkinson's body was discovered at his home in Hattersley last month. The woman with 3 children was seen talking to him outside an electricity shop in Hyde.
500 jobs are to go in the region. 350 will be lost at the Heinz food factory in Wigan, where 1,700 people are employed. The company says it's hoped the losses, part of a streamlining package agreed between unions and management, can be achieved voluntarily. And British Aerospace has confirmed that 150 jobs are also going at its factory in Lostock near Bolton.
Pilkingtons, the St Helens-based glass company, have reported a sharp fall in profits. Pre-tax profits fell to £77 million from £151 million last year, a fall of just over 50%. The company says trading conditions are the worst they've ever experienced. Pilkingtons are halfway through a redundancy programme aimed at cutting the 5,000-strong workforce by 750 people.
British Airways has been granted an injunction to stop cabin staff at Manchester Airport disrupting flights. Almost 300 crew members voted for industrial action in a dispute over pay and conditions, but the High Court has ruled that a question on the original ballot paper may not comply with legal requirements. The Irish rock group U2 say they plan to go ahead with a planned demonstration outside Sellafield despite a ban by British Nuclear Fuels. The band are organising the demonstration in protest at the building of BNFL's second nuclear reprocessing plant at the Cumbrian site. They say BNFL originally gave permission for the protest on its land, but has now withdrawn the offer.
Well, as well as Princess Diana, there was another royal visitor in the region today. The Princess Royal was at a unique event in Cheshire, along with a host of former Olympic athletes. All came to Mottram Hall near Wilmslow to back Manchester's Olympic bid. Mark Owen was there too.
Without doubt, today's event was about sun, strawberries and sport being the most important. It was billed as a celebration of every athlete who'd ever taken part in the Olympics for Britain.
All the Olympic sports are represented. Some 800 athletes, gymnasts and swimmers, you name it, have come here for two reasons. One, to receive a commemorative pin from a fellow athlete who also happens to be a member of the royal family, and also to back Manchester's, Britain's, Olympic bid.
The Princess Royal herself competed in the 1972 Olympics in Munich. In her speech, she called on all Britain's past and present Olympic athletes to work for a common goal.
And I hope that all of you feel that bringing the Games to Britain and Manchester is a worthy goal for us all to pursue.
A view backed by David Wilkie, gold medalist in the breaststroke in 1976 in Montreal.
It'd be so much better if the Games did come here. I think one, for sport in this country, it would be good. Two, it'd be great for the Northwest. It would give a real impetus for the minor sports, and I'd love to see that. And three, you know, if we can get kids involved, and I think that's probably the greatest thing. Kids involved in the sense, hey, we've got the Olympic Games in Great Britain, I want to be in them, and we can go and develop sport to a much higher level because of that.
And backed by Mary Peters, the 1972 pentathlon Olympic champion. She won gold, and she says it's special.
Oh, it means everything to a sports person. It's something you dream about and never think that will really happen to you, but when it does happen, it's very special, and nobody can ever take it away from you unless you're a Ben Johnson.
After her speech, the princess met the oldest athletes present. One won gold in 1936 in Berlin, in front of Adolf Hitler.
No, Hitler was behind us about possibly 20 feet on a balcony. When we were spectating, when we were watching after we'd competed, we sat down there and he was just behind us there. Could have popped the lad off any time.
But it was still a day about backing the bid.
I've given a message to every member of the Olympic Committee: vote Manchester.
That might mean similar scenes to these returning to our country. Then Wembley was the Olympic stadium. £55 million already pledged by the government will at least see a Wembley of the North.
As the biggest gathering of athletes in this country since 1948, the last time the Olympics were here, comes to an end, and as the Princess Royal moves on, she takes with her, and the other athletes take with them too, the message that now Manchester means business.
And isn't it great to see them all looking so well? Well, now we move on to Bob Greaves, who has money on his mind in this week's Bob's Beat. He's been looking into those pitfalls of get-rich-quick schemes, which seem to offer you unlimited money, but end up costing you dearly. Here's Bob's Beat.
Now, everyone wishes they had wealth and riches beyond their wildest dreams. Perhaps a win on the pools, or dead certs romping home first. But the truth is that most of us have to make do with just working for a living. But that doesn't stop us having plans and schemes to make our fortune. Take a look in any evening paper and you'll come across the classified ads section with genuine adverts offering you the chance to make a few pounds. Others may be home working schemes, so that there's also the chance that among the legitimate jobs there could be a few you might have to watch out for. I've discovered that in Lancaster, Trading Standards officers have investigated a now defunct home working scheme formerly run by a company called Solar Mill. They guaranteed £500 for 10 weeks' work. To earn the money, all you had to do was become administrative agents for them, and for just a £15 registration fee, well, the cash was as good as yours. That is, after you sent off a further £100 as a deposit. Sounds too good to be true? Well, it was. Solar Mill went out of business without providing any of the promised work. 500 people, including Irene Miller from Blackpool and Bob Worden from Preston, sent off their £15 registration fee. Irene, how did you learn about this scheme?
It was a leaflet through the door, putting 1,000 brochures in envelopes and addressing them, all provided by the company concerned, and they would deliver and they would pick up at times arranged between the two of you. The crunch came when we got the second letter giving us the date that we had the 10 weeks' work. They wanted £100 security fee, which you had to send, which was supposed to be to cover everything they were sending to your home in the weeks that you were working for them, that they got it back in the same condition that they delivered it to you.
What attracted you to it, Bob?
It was like an answer to prayer, really. You know, spending money. You know, extra spending money.
How long did it run for before you sensed there was something wrong?
I felt very dubious about the whole thing right from the very beginning, actually, because it just seemed too good to be true, that you could work in your own home at your own leisure and get paid for it.
We contacted the people from Solar Mill and asked them if they would appear on Bob's beat. We wanted to ask them about the scheme, obviously, but they declined to appear or to comment.
Solar Mill is just one example of many hundreds of such schemes we've seen. Alarm bells should ring for consumers if they see money asked for in advance, if the nature of the work isn't explained, if they're invited to join a multi-level scheme. These are the key areas where problems exist, and we warn people not to send money in those circumstances. Any offer of employment for yourself, they should really be sending you money, not asking you for money.
Strong words of warning there from Jim Potts, and remember, and I don't pretend to be the first to say it, there is no such thing as money for nothing.
You don't get out for naught, Bob, do you? Bob will be back on his beat next week. Over the next 10 days, dozens of Britain's best comedians will be in Liverpool for the city's annual Festival of Comedy. Ruby Wax, Jack Dee, Eddie Izzard, Sean Hughes, Frank Sidebottom, to name but 5. The festival kicks off tonight with a performance by 5 of Liverpool's most famous writers. We can join Andy Gill live at the festival launch with 2 of them, Alan Bleasdale and Willie Russell. But first, there's a very serious event indeed happening, Andy, I believe.
That's right, John. You join us at a very solemn moment indeed. Desmond Pitcher of the Merseyside Development Corporation is about to crown Margie Clark Fairy Queen of the Liverpool Festival of Comedy. Off we go. You're on. Jane Casey, the festival director, giving Margie the sceptre of the Festival of Comedy and the traditional kiss, of course, for Queens. And now Desmond Pitcher of the Merseyside Development Corporation crowns Margie Clark Queen. There we go. Now then, the festival opens tonight with 5 of Liverpool's most famous writers on stage. 3 of the poets, Adrian Henry, Roger McGough, and 2 here are Willie Russell. Willie, turn around, thank you. On stage tonight at the Philharmonic Hall to kick the Festival of Comedy off, Alan Bleasdale, GBH and Wagstuff fame, Willie Russell educating Rita, Shirley Valentine. Willie, why is a festival of comedy important to somewhere like Liverpool?
Well, I think it's the right sort of city for a festival of comedy. It's a very serious city, which is why it's produced some very, very fine comedy in the years.
Alan, you're going to be on stage tonight. We expect people like you and Willie to be writing the stuff, not performing it. What are you going to be doing?
Well, we used to perform when we were much younger. We used to go to places like Bury Metro Art for £20 plus petrol money. So we've got a background of it. There's a lot in the background now, but you can't keep Margie down. Look at it.
You've been rehearsing this afternoon, I gather, with Adrian and Roger McGough and Brian Patton. How's it been going?
It's been smashing because we don't often have the chance to work together. Of course, it was the poets who started us performing. Adrian Henry said to me years ago, when we were doing some work together, right, let's read tonight. I said, it's fine for you, you're a poet, playwrights can't do it. He said, playwrights can do it, and since then we've always done it.
So are you going to be reading from your own work or performing plays?
Our own work. Yeah, it's like what Willie says. I've got a ticket stub at home for the Everyman Theatre in 1967, and it was for 2 and 9pence, and it was from Gough, Patton and Henry, and we had a poet each for 11pence each. And that's the tradition that we're working from.
That sounds like good value for money. Now, there's lots of new comedians coming up in the festival, Jack Dee, to name but one. Who do you like of the new generation comedians?
Billy Connolly.
New generation.
I was going to say that.
He's always new. He's so good that he's always new.
And what about
you catch me slightly on the hop when you talk about the new generation. I'm such an old man these days.
Alan, what about you? What about the people coming up on the festival? Who are you going to go see?
I don't know yet. I haven't read the brochure. I've been busy. I will be around. I'll be going to see quite a lot. And obviously, you're always on the lookout for new young talent, acting talent and writing talent. So I'm sure we're going to be, actually not going to be surprised because it's always there. It's just a matter of finding it. I actually think that in this present day and age, new writers and new comedians don't go away. They're told to go away.
Great. Alan and Willie, thank you very much. From the Festival of Comedy back to the studio, this lot on the stage at the Philharmonic Hall in Liverpool tonight at 8 p.m. And these are the programmes for the Festival of Comedy. You can get them at theatres and other venues. See you later.
Yes, I think we've got that. Thanks very much, Andy. Of course, no better place for comedy than Liverpool. Well, we move on from one bunch of comedians to another. Yes, it's time to join Fred. He's been at the seaside today, lucky thing, where the weather's been lovely. And so to tell us what the weather has in store for us tomorrow, we join him at the Marine Gardens in Fleetwood.
I got a group of locals, shall we say, enjoying the sun. Nice day for you all?
Yes!
It's wonderful. You're all in the summer clothes as well. That's why I'm going to jumper on. It is a bit warm. We've had a lovely afternoon. We're going to have a lovely evening ahead of us. Plenty of sunshine for the next few hours. The sun doesn't set till well after 9. Then a nice, dry, fine night. Clear night as well. Stars out in the sky. Do you like looking at stars?
Yeah.
Okay, probably Jason Donovan or something like that. Tomorrow, for those of you up very early, I think it actually will be quite misty, but we are talking about 5 o'clock, and there's not many of us up at that time of the morning. It will be a lovely sunny day once again, and a little bit warmer than it's been today. So I will say, to sum up, what have we got for tonight? Well, dry and clear. Minimum temperature 9 Celsius, that's 48 Fahrenheit. And for tomorrow, a misty start, then dry and sunny, maximum temperature 22 Celsius. That's all in the 70s Fahrenheit. And tonight's wonderful weather picture, very appropriate picture as well, was sent in by Chris Eccles, who's aged 8 and goes to Avondale School, and that's in Darwen in Lancashire. So from all of us here, shall we wave goodbye? Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks very much, Fred. The main national news before we go. In her first official engagement since the controversy about her personal life, the Princess of Wales broke down and wept. The Princess was officially opening the Queen's Court Hospice near Southport on Merseyside. As she left, she began to cry and covered her face with her hand.
Now look at some of the events happening around the world. An American soldier has been killed and another seriously injured when gunmen opened fire on their jeep near Panama City. The military jeep was on a quiet road 30 miles north of the capital. The attack came on the eve of a visit by US President George Bush. A British mine-clearing company is destroying unexploded mines left from the war in Afghanistan. It's estimated there are up to 60 million of them in the country. The President of Kenya has become the first black African head of state to visit South Africa in 23 years. Daniel Moy held talks with President de Klerk on his way to the Earth Summit in Rio.
It's an historical occasion.
Finally, an anonymous buyer has paid over $3 million, a record for a Fabergé Easter egg once owned by the last Tsar of Russia. The jewel-encrusted egg, auctioned in New York, was commissioned by Nicholas II to celebrate the birth of his son, Alexei. Hope he doesn't poach it by mistake. That's it for tonight. Tomorrow, Granada Tonight weekend starts at the later time of 6:30. We'll have all the latest news, of course, and great news for fans of Wet, 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 and exclusive footage of Dire Straits in concert. But finally, tonight, a slice of New Orleans comes to Liverpool this evening with one of America's premier jazz combos, the Dirty Dozen Brass Band. They're at St George's Hall to kick off the Liverpool Music Festival. Lots of festivals in Liverpool. Liverpool, in fact, is alive with the sounds of world music, so enjoy it. We'll see you tomorrow. Good night.
Good night.
Tonight at 7:30, the life of a hired ball gown.
Me? I'm a 12, well, 14 at a squeeze. That's why I'm the most popular dress. But that has its drawbacks. This last week's been murder. Still, this is definitely my kind of do. Sunshine, champagne, and pots of loot. Now, I'm a works do specialist, but something told me that this was going to be a little more upmarket. Well, we are talking Cheshire after all.
A dress called Wonder. This England. Tonight at 7:30 on Granada.
An important day for the inhabitants of Beckendale with the annual Hotton Show. Plenty of rivalry between the tug-of-war teams, also hotly contested. The title of most glamorous granny will be there as Emmerdale is next.